All right. Well, for those who are just tuning in the recording, we were just salsa dancing, so I'm a little winded, but it should be all right. Let me just real quick share my screen. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm John Larson. I am the creator of Coach Accountable. It's a pleasure to be back here hosting, sponsoring the ACTO conference for the fifth year in a row. If you don't know anything about us, Coach Accountable is a coaching app. Been around for 10 years as of about 2 weeks ago. And the things that are most concerned about is making it possible for coaches of all stripes, including newly minted coaches, many of your students, to run a better business and then to do something that's even more exciting because it's not just the administrative bits, but actually give clients more. So I won't be giving a long-winded sort of talk into all the things that my platform can do and all that. That would be boring. I'm going to do something hopefully a little more fun to kind of play with an abstract idea that really speaks to all coaching and all modalities of coaching and what can be done that is often not on the radar of most training regimens. And that is the idea of supporting clients between sessions. Now, this is an idea that I obsess over. I think it's so fascinating because so much coach training and expertise, and indeed criteria of mastery and excellence, is all to do with what coach says and does and how they be and the listening they provide in the sessions themselves. But I'm interested and curious about what can happen, getting curious about influencing when coach is not there, i.e. that space between the sessions. So let me illustrate what I'm talking about by this. We have this idea of there's a session, coach and client are there, coach is armed with their usual implements of communication, maybe even some note-taking. And because a coach is well-trained, things reliably happen that are good. Client gets things like clarity, motivation, inspiration, and things just kind of hum along. That's a hallmark of good coaching. That's what we're going for. And then the session ends and client is on their own and they take from their sessions those good things that they got. But because humans are the way that they are and brains work the way that they are, they do, these things invariably fade with time. What excites me is this idea of having a system that has certain elements that help keep the coaching alive when coach is not there. And there are three bread and butter components of that I'll share with you now in a very simplified idea. One is an action plan. Just write down, document what would be constituting meaningful action taking on the coaching to have that coaching being brought to someone's life. The other is metrics. Well, what's worth measuring? Are we going in the right direction? Are we above or below where we want to be? And the third is simply documenting the goodness from the notes themselves, having a treasure trove of session notes that capture those good things that happened. Now, collectively, these three things just by themselves can make a powerful system that's supporting coaching when coach isn't even there. And with a little bit of smarts and interactivity, that system can help the client keep present to and be in action on the meaningful bits from the coaching conversations when coach is not there, such as reaching out, hey, don't forget this thing that you created with your coach as being worthy of doing, making it easy for them to say, oh yeah, I did that, marking things done and kind of working through the plan. Similarly for metrics, hey, don't forget to measure this thing that you've co-created with your coach as being meaningful and worth doing and measuring. Yes, here's how that's going. Update the record effortlessly. And indeed being a reference, a resource for them to refer back to that creates further value of the coaching conversations because again, they can live on beyond the conversations themselves. This by itself lends an awful lot of power to coaching conversations that are already strong. But it affords some other possibilities too. If coach wants to, if they feel like it, they've got a real window into how things are unfolding when client is off doing their thing. And they can even, if they want to, comment on with encouragement, hey, well done on doing this, or hey, this due date passed, do you need any support? Same with metrics. Hey, things are unfolding in the right way, this sort of support and encouragement. All these things create a certain presence of coach with very little effort on coach's part. Now then, the real magic comes in informing the next session. So the next session, again, it's coach right there. But thanks to a system, they can be informed by, well, how have things gone since last time? What's done and what's not? How are things unfolding with the metric? Hey, what exactly would you talk about anyway? We've got a nice clean record that allows coach, when client finally comes, to be fully prepared to deliver even more power and value in those sessions. Another dimension of all this sort of what I consider bringing coaching to be more than just the conversations themselves, enables a certain window into this is the way that I work with clients. Properly anonymized, of course, they're not talking about violating anyone's privacy, but you can make a certain tangibility to what it is to have a coaching practice that can allow people who are interested maybe the people who hired the coach, maybe the people who might be interested in hiring that coach, to see what it is beyond mere conversations, get curious, and maybe even inspired. Now, a coaching system can do, and mine does, plenty of other things like appointment scheduling, managing agreements and engagements and coaching packages, making it possible for clients to buy those packages online, making it easy to manage client agreements, make it easy to offer group coaching experiences, and indeed make it easy to offer courses which marry the best of tried and true materials that make the most of what can be systematized and marry that with the magic of that irreplaceable one-on-one human touch that is a coach's time and attention. All of this is in general is a nice way of saying this is what Coach Accountable is and what it does to do those two things of helping coaches of all stripes run better businesses and give their clients more. So what I'm excited to share with you guys in the ACTO community today is what I call Coach Accountable for Schools. And this is a way to give your students a head start on building a thriving practice. Coach Accountable allows you to sort of create all these things that sort of structure the what it is to have a business that's ready to go, and contracts and things that clients, or excuse me, newly minted coaches often struggle with trying to figure out and how to present themselves in the market. And so when you have a Coach Accountable account, you can create things like these contract templates, these worksheet templates that codify best practices and give more structure to the sessions themselves, and even full-on courses that can be sequences of materials and assignments and so forth. All of these together can be packaged by your school as a resource package. Certain things, templates, materials that again give structure and power to someone getting started. And you can make that resource package available to your students so that they can install it easily into their account and have a major head start and leg up in what it is to get established and running as a coach, helping them to build a thriving practice instead of being left on their own to invent from scratch all sorts of things that they didn't really sign up to do. They're in business, but they came to be a coach, and this helps them have the business part of the equation handled so they can dive in and become a thriving coach much sooner than later. So Coach Accountable for Schools has a couple of things. If you, as part of the program, you get a free Coach Accountable account for your school indefinitely so that you can manage and create and build this collection of resources and materials that are specific to your style of training, to your school, and make those available to your clients. Not your clients, your students. And your students get 3 months free for your students so that they have a full proper runway to experiment and get things started and actually land their first paying clients on their path to getting a thriving practice going. And that's triple what is usually on offer. And you guys get to earn referral credit as a school. It's this tasteful kickback for spreading love. And that's the gist of Coach Accountable for Schools. You can kind of, again, make the sort of codified bits of what it is to have a thriving, workable practice that actually supports coaches and their clients, make it available to people. If this is something that's interesting to you, you can apply to this program or just talk to me about it. Be happy to chat and see if it would be a good fit for you in serving your students. If you're interested, you can go to coachaccountable.com for schools and again, see more of the details as well as register for a quick conversation or apply to the program. And that's everything that I have to say. At this point now, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce to you our keynote speaker, our final one of the conference. Leonardo Ravier is a doctor of psychology from the Autonomous University of Madrid. He also has a doctorate in economic sciences from the Rey Juan Carlos University. He's a pioneer as a coach, and that's a word that's kind of cliche and thrown about a little in the space. But for Leonardo, that is true in no small way. Over 10 years ago, he renounced all of the high credentials of coaching from various institutions that he had earned, figuring them to be part of the problem and kind of muddying the waters of the true essence of coaching. So instead, he's devoted himself to creating the general theory of coaching. And that is a theory that has a purpose to distinguish the true essence and restore the original essence of coaching, thereby solving those problems of inefficiency, incoherence, and ethics. And he's here today to talk about that general theory of coaching. I give you Leonardo Ravier.
Muy bien, muchas gracias. Voy a compartir pantalla. Muchas gracias, John. No sé si dijo que renunció hace 10 días, es hace 10 años, o escuché mal, no lo sé. Antes de iniciar, mientras comparto la pantalla, Gorka recuerda grabar el audio en tu móvil en inglés. Y mientras tanto, voy preparando esto.
Okay, we're recording. Okay. I think we are just here. Here. Okay, here it is. Okay. I'm ready. So thank you so much, Larson, for the presentation. First of all, I would like to thank you, ACTO. Actually, I really am thank you for the invitation, for the trust, for the boldness to really be in the example, because they believe in respect of different voices that and they are inviting me to close this event. It's a real honor. I'm really, really thankful for that. I really want to thank the sponsors because they make this possible. I want to thank Gorka because, as he said, he's not a professional translator, but he's offering himself for the translation. So you can listen me in English. Means I speak my original language, so I'm really thankful for that. And finally, I want to thank you all for being here present, because somehow you are trying to know what is this general theory of coaching, and you are here with me with your time. And for me, time is very important, and I don't like to waste times. So I'm going to use all the time that I have. I will use it in the presentation, because I also have the present after the conference to have 30 minutes for question and answers, because I really, this is a present because I have more time to explain what I want to share with you. You may see in the slide that I just set up subtitle, the title of the event, Evolving from the Essence. Why have I chosen to use the subtitle as a title? Because what I'm going to do is just to focus on these 2 points, the essence of coaching and the evolution of coaching. And we will see it from the perspective of the general theory of coaching. Why? Because somehow, ACTO, what is saying is, for coaching to evolve, we need an essence of coaching to exist. The evolution from the essence. Without essence, how can we know if something is evolving or going backwards? I see some excessive optimism in the coaching world when we say that coaching is evolving, coaching is getting better, coaching is a great level, when actually things can also go backwards. A profession can go backwards, a country can go backwards, a theory can go backwards. So it's very important for me to be able to make the difference. First, to be able to see which is coaching's essence, to be able to see what we are today, respect this essence, and see if we have evolved or involved, and what we can wait from the coaching's future. And so this is going to be a very reflective session, and probably is going to challenge your thoughts and ideas, your beliefs about coaching. I don't know. Let's try to explain it the best possible, and in a easiest way. And let's see what we see. The general theory of coaching is a doctoral thesis that was defended in Madrid Autonomous University in the Faculty of Psychology. That was defended February the 16th of 2021, and it was published as a book in September. So now it's a 1-year anniversary of general theory of coaching. Just want you to know that this is the doctoral thesis that was defended and that you can read it. And as you will have the slides, you will you will have also the link to the doctoral defense in English and in Spanish. And here you have a synthesis of 45 minutes. This is what the judges led me to defend the thesis. So you can see the synthesis, the summary of this general theory of coaching, which is a really extensive research. The book is about 700 pages. So, which is the essence of coaching according to the general theory of coaching? One of the first things I did in order to discover what was the essence of coaching was to analyze the different definitions of coaching that were offered in the international associations of coaching, the most important associations in the world. Why? Because I understand that this essence should be reflected in these definitions. The definition, by definition, should be articulated this particularity or singularity of the thing of study. If the essence is not in the definition, then we have a problem. We shouldn't be scared, because in every discipline, the discussion about what is this discipline, it doesn't matter how much time I'm on it, the discussion of what is coaching is going to be present. And it's a question we need to ask ourselves and should be able to answer in the best way possible. So I analyze all these definitions, from the ICF, International Association of Coaching, Association of Coaching of England, World Association of Business of Coaching, and the LASICOP. They are the biggest and most important associations. And when I analyze these definitions, I find that, and this table is in Spanish, you will see all the slides in English, but this is one of the few that is in Spanish. I just have taken the concept that these associations use to define coaching, and I just divide it in categories. For example, associations define coaching as a process, and when they talk about a process of the reflexive, creative, transformational, collaborative, systemic, accompanying, or just a conversation. And you can see on the right side another help process of process relationship like training, accessory, consultancy, mentoring, training, and help processes based on psychology. Okay, now go and try to tell one of these other professionals that what they do is not a reflexive relationship. Just go and tell them that what they do is not creativity, or that is not something collaborative, or is not something systemic. No one will accept that, because they are concepts that they are part of the relationship coaching. They also are part of all the other different relationship processes, help processes existent. For instance, the concepts that are used in the associations to define coaching from a process concept, they're not enough to understand what is the essence of the distinction that coaching has as a different purpose of other relationships. What happens with the concept that talks about results? These associations define risk coaching as maximization of expansion of the potential, just awareness, creation of awareness, discovery, growth, possibility expansion, inspiration. I'm not going to read everything, but you have them. Growth, motivation, personal and professional growth, design and action realization. If you ask any of the professionals that work as training, accessory, they will say that these concepts, they are also applicable to their relationships of help. So there are concepts too broad that will not define really the definition of what coaching really is. Motivation, development, inspiration, performance improvement, all these also appear as a result of the other help processes. I haven't found a single concept that will define coaching that is not part from another concept that can be just used as another relationship help relationships. But for instance, what happens with relationship? All these associations define coaching as a relationship focused on solution. Don't you think that a psychotherapist won't tell you that they are focuses on solving, or maybe a mentor, or maybe a trainer? No. They won't accept you because they also do it. That's what happens from 30 years ago. And this is somehow the framework of evolution of modern coaching, that all these professionals of help, they say, well, what you do, I'm also doing it. So nothing of what you're saying that is different in coaching make me say that this is not something that I'm not doing. Result-oriented, respect, security, challenge, but ethical practice, they're all concepts that are part of all the relationship of health that exists right now. And this table shows us that really nowadays, even it's difficult to understand and recognize, we haven't known how to define coaching. You can tell me, yeah, I know that coaching is different. Okay, but we are not getting how to do it if we want to articulate it in the right way, if we want, the others to understand us and see us as intruders. Because the difficulty of definition of coaching brings some problems that we will see. What is the solution that general theory of coaching proposes in order to define coaching correctly? What we propose, we need 3 big distinctions and categories that we understand that any articulation of a definition of coaching should have in order to be different of any other help relationship or collaboration. First, we need an epistemological distinction, a teleological distinction about finality, and a methodological distinction. If we can demonstrate, articulate, describe which is the distinction, epistemological distinction, teleological distinction, and methodological, we will be successful in defining what coaching is and separate it from other relationships of help, and just see what coaching is bringing into society. It's something different, singular, and that is bringing some value that is different from other help relationships. Okay, so now is the epistemological distinction. You know that epistemology is about knowledge, and actually human do have 2 kinds of knowledge. Human beings, they possess 2 kinds of knowledge. Technical knowledge represented with this technical manual that you use to learn how to use a machine, because there it's articulated all the knowledge that you don't have, but it's already written in this manual, and reading this manual and following the instructions, you can learn how to use a machine that till the moment you didn't know how to use. And this is technical knowledge. But human being, it also has some kind of knowledge, which is tacit knowledge. And we will represent it as the learning on how to learn how to ride a bike, on how as human being learns to learn any kind of ability. In these 20 years that I've been in the world of coaching, I always ask if any of the assistants has bought a book in order to learn how to ride a bicycle. And of course, everybody laughs because intuitively we'll know that no one is going to buy a book in order how to learn a technical knowledge how to ride a bicycle. We know we learn through experience with trial and error constantly. And it's me, the one who needs to get on the bike. And it needs to be me, the one who is experimenting that. And it's me, the one with trial and error, is going to realize what does balance means. And I will develop the ability to even ride on a motorcycle. And this is about tacit knowledge, because nobody can transfer that to you. Nobody can articulate it, nobody can storage it, and nobody can trespass it to you. You need to experience it by yourself. This is a very technical table, but I want to see you really fast the characteristics that are different. So tacit knowledge, it's added to existence reality. A month ago, I didn't know how to ride a bicycle. It was not present in me. Now I have added something to the existence. This ability to ride is something new that there was not before. Technical knowledge is already part of the reality. It's already articulated, storage in some place. It already exists. Tacit knowledge is particular. Technical is general. Tacit is subjective. Technical is subjective. Tacit is unarticulable. I cannot express it with word. Technical is articulated. Tacit can be storable, but within oneself. Messi, the football player, cannot take out his talent and give it to another. Rafa Nadal, tennis player, cannot take his talent and play with another. Elon Musk cannot, take out his talent and pass it to another. It's of himself. It's incorporated. Technical knowledge can be stored and can be out of the subject. Tacit knowledge cannot be transferred, and tacit knowledge is dynamic, and technical knowledge is static. Knowledge tacit is knowledge as personal coefficient, and technical is as impersonal coefficient. Tacit is uncritical. Tacit is critical. Tacit is not about the know-how. Technical is about the know that, or know the what of things. And finally, this is a word that I have developed. Tacit is engendered, which means that we give birth to it. We generate new knowledge. Technical knowledge is discovered. Now, with this distinction, I can define two big finalities or teleologies of coaching. Why? Because if someone is asking me, oh, look, Leonardo, I don't know how to do marketing strategy in Google Ads. I have no idea. I don't know about Gmail. Obviously, that client needs technical knowledge that already exists, that is already articulated. And a person that has that knowledge, which is the goal of the person who helps. If somebody is asking for you, it's transfer knowledge, just to share that knowledge. This is the goal. If I need technical knowledge, I will find for someone who doesn't have the knowledge I have, so they transfer it to me. But what happens if I have a problem of a goal from which nobody has got that knowledge because it's not technical? It's kind of singular that is happening to me, and that is about myself, my circumstances, and I don't have the book in where to go and to see and solve the problem, and there is no expert to go and so can tell me what to do or where to go or how to look at it or what to do with the situation. Then the problem is tacit. So the goal of a relationship help when a client needs tacit knowledge, that implies this give birth of knowledge, is asking me to help him to generate this knowledge, to discover this new knowledge, to create new knowledge. And if you see, it's really linked. If I focus on the tacit component of knowledge, the end, the goal is to catalyze this generation of knowledge. If I want to focus on the technical knowledge, the goal, the end, is to transfer this technical knowledge. And that can be in many ways. That's why the consultant, the trainer, the mentor, they all transfer different things, but they transfer. One transfers the what, the how, and all the experience, basically. Just take a look. So we have two persons here. So we have the end or the goal to transfer and what happened, and this is very important. And here, in the other hand, we have the generation. One goes from the out to the inside, and this is a transference paradigm. And from the inside out is called a paradigm of generation. There are different ways through which human beings have generated different relationships based on transference. Many of them. Teaching, consultancy, advice, training, mentoring, facilitation, psychotherapies, and look what I just wrote here, mainstream coaching. What I call mainstream coaching, and I will explain you later what do I mean, hasn't know how to separate himself from the paradigm of transference. That's why we see coaches that are gurus, experts, coaches that they share their experience, coaches that they generate some niche in which they can help others because they have the knowledge that the person helped has not. This is transference paradigm, and mainstream coaching has not realized that the end of coaching is essentially in the catalyst of generating of knowledge centered in the tacit component of knowledge. And in my research, I haven't found a single relationship of help or collaboration that is specialized specifically in the generation of knowledge. None of them. All the one you have on the right have as an essence the paradigm of transference. Coaching, from the point of view of general theory, coaching is something singular. It's something that it's a relationship through no other help relationship can help, because they are founded in a different paradigm, opposite paradigm, in which coaching has been emerging. Till this point, I'm explaining you theoretical points of view. Aspects that are epistemological, teleological, but then I will talk to you about the historical and practical aspect of the theory. There are many elements that really converge in order to understand that the essence of coaching is related to what I just, it's in green color. If I have a distinction, epistemological and theological, I can just go to the next point, which is the methodological, operational methodology distinction. Why? Because if the goal, the end, is to transfer knowledge, I will call this directivity. It's a help with transference part. Just pay attention to this part. When I talk about transference, I'm not talking about a psychoanalytic or psychological or psychiatrist. We're talking about transfer, share information, knowledge, experience, or any other thing or synonym that you can use with these words. Just trespassing information, knowledge, experience. If I want to attend technical knowledge, I need directive. If I want to attend the tacit knowledge to catalyze this generation of knowledge, I necessarily need to be non-directive. I need to eliminate all transference, eliminate any trespass of information, knowledge, judgment, just to eliminate. There is where you can have the three elements that any definition of coaching should have. I will come back to this later. Here is the helper. Here is the person that asks for help, client, coachee. There is their goal. And here, the helper decides. Just put aside all he or she knows, everything he or she knows, any experience they have about what the client is bringing into the table. They just put everything aside. We have these keys because coach should let the client in between these red keys activate a dynamic of knowledge generation. But for that, the helper needs to be outside of that. I'm going to stop any kind of transference. But do you know what happens? And this is something that Gorka in the previous session has exposed in an empirical way. When I stop from transference, what happens is this that you're seeing in the screen, that is some kind blinking. This is the theory of the dynamic of generation of knowledge that happens internally in a client when a coach is stopping transference. This is what happens. I want to be able to explain all this in detail, but all this that you're seeing right now, we are dealing with the nature and structure and dynamic of generation of knowledge and tacit knowledge. Basically what it says, it's when a client attends in a natural way what the motivus, what it moves, the motivation, and it works with this dual mode, which is the focal and subsidiary attention, what happens naturally and spontaneously, a potentiation of the integration of tacit knowledge, which means discover new things. Insights happens. There are many ways in which different help relationships name that, but is the own client the one who is choosing, rejecting, looking, just thinking, and produces integrations that brings them closer to the goals. What happens when the coach says, no, I don't like non-directivity, I coach, but I transfer. Now, we are on the other side. I'm going to tell the client what I think, or I'll give them some suggestion, opinion, or I will just judge some of the ideas. So this is what happens. It's demonstrated theoretically and empirically. Theoretically by the general theory and experience by what Gorka did, that when we transfer knowledge, what we do is just inhibit this self-generation of knowledge. I transfer and I close this natural dynamic of engendration. Gorka has shown us you before, just see as an example because I think it's a nice, because it's a good complement into the empiric framework and the theoretical framework. You can see here the different waves in the occipital, parietal, and temporal. that neuroscience has identified as this related to creativity. That is what I call this knowledge generation, and you can see the activity when coach stops from transferring. And what happens when, what the research of Gorka, now you can see when the coach transfers, you can see how it really diminishes. You can see how, knowledge really grows when there is no transferring, when we use the 4 meta competencies of non-directive coaching, and how is inhibited this capacity of, at level of neural activity when it's reflected in the electromagnetic field of the brain, and how is inhibited when there is this transference. So, what is for me the essence of coaching? And here is the point. I can tell you coaching is that help relationship, or this way to accompany people that is focused on the tacit component of knowledge, that is looking to generate knowledge from a non-directive or non-transference point. And this definition, you won't see it in any other place, and is not related to any other helping relationship till this point. Any of the helping relationship can tell that they have specialized and a focus on the tacit knowledge in order to catalyze the generation of tacit knowledge. There are many ways to articulate it. You can also say coaching is this process that gets or can catalyze this inner dynamics of tacit knowledge in a non-directive way. So I could make many ways or many definitions, but all have this essence. This that I'm just showing you here is for me the essence of coaching. And a relationship, a session or process of help or session, it doesn't matter, that is not answering to these ideas, just stops being coaching, and it's another different thing. Now, what is the problem of mainstream coaching? Mainstream coaching, from my point of view, and after the analysis I made, it's still in the paradigm of transference, and sessions and coaching, so-called name coaching, can get the full potential of what coaching can bring to society, which is this generation of knowledge. So, I mean, they already offer a lot, but we can still improve a lot in the ways coaching is being implemented. And finally, I'm going to come here, which is where I wanted to get. So what I say is, in order to be able to evolve, we need to recognize and accept these foundations that I have just mentioned: epistemological distinction, teleological, and tacit knowledge. And now I just showing the most important associations, but I could put every national coaching association. What is that associations are offering in essence? Just a competency environment, competential environment. Do we agree? So ICF is one of the most important, has created a model based on competencies, and all the others just copied that model. Everybody in the coaching world is centered looking at this part of competencies, but below that we have this blind spot zone, what I have just explained, because we cannot define any competency if you don't have a methodology that is clear, if you don't have a teleology, and if you don't have an epistemological distinction, because competency must be defined because of these 3 levels of distinction that I just explained. What happens if I don't have these distinctions and they are not neither in the definition or in other place. If these distinctions are not, and I still in the paradigm of transference, is really normal that all coaching definitions are confusing, ambiguous. They generate chaos on the market, and the own coaches cannot define what to do. And other, helping professionals look at us, telling us, "Oh, what are you telling me?" We have three big blind spots in the world of coaching. One theoretical, another historical, and another professional. Just allow me to go on a little bit with theoretical. So, in the definition of coaching, we do not include the operational, teleological, and epistemological. We will have the same problem. But if we keep doing it from the transference paradigm, which is common to the other relationship help, and we just take from them methodologies, tools, and we also take from them different things, in the end what we are doing is we're intoxicating the essence of coaching. We are somehow blurring coaching essence, and that can produce a kind of involution of coaching. From a theoretical point of view, you may know that there are some academical journals. Here we have the International Journal of Coaching. Here we have, just 1 second because it's very small, International Journal of Evidence-Based Coaching and Mentoring. Here we have International Coaching Psychology Review. We also have International Journal of Mentoring and Coaching in Education. Also, Philosophy of Coaching. These are all journals specialized in coaching. Also, Coaching at Work. So, if I focus on the first three, in 2020, we already had more than 1,000 papers in the world of coaching. Only 23 articles, only 23 from 1,000 mention just tangentially, really on the side, without delving, and without providing any solution into these problems of coaching. So, definition of coaching, methodology, teleology, epistemology of coaching. They only mention tangentially that there is a problem, but any of these papers has tried to solve that problem. Only in 23 of 1,000 is tangentially mentioned. We are full of papers, of academic papers that are full of suppositions that has no scientific foundation. I'm not saying that coach that writing it has not a scientific basis. It is not what I'm saying. He may have it or she may have it, but it's just taking it from neuroscience or from a philosophical tradition or from a psychological line, or maybe from some help process, or maybe who knows where he's taking, but he's not answering to the very essence of coaching. And this is a really, really important problem, because coaching will end up being what every coach wants to be, and what every coach will decide from their own subjective and assumptions that he or she has in his head. And this is not good if we want to evolve coaching as a discipline. And I'm very critical, and I know that I've been very critical, but I love this profession. I want to preserve this profession, and I don't want to, dirty this essence. There is also historical blind spot that many do not know. And there's also a discovery that it has a big part in the doctoral dissertation, because it's about all the different authors. before coaching. We also need to recognize and accept where we come from in order to know where we're going. And we can ask ourselves, how are we evolving, and are we really evolving? Do you really think that we are evolving? In which sense? This table that you see right now, I'm going to show you really fast because this is actually 350 pages of the doctoral thesis, but I'm going to show you how coaching has evolved from a historical point of view. Every coaches agree with me. The ancestors of coaching, the primogenic, the oldest part of coaching is in Socrates' Majotic. I haven't found any coach that says that this is not so. Why? Because there it's the essence. We all know what Socrates did. Without knowing, I only know that I don't know. What can I transfer to you? If I only know that I know nothing, what I can transfer you? Nothing. So if I can transfer you, how can you tell me? Because I will help you to give birth, to create this knowledge. He was the one who helped souls to give birth. And the idea, the non-directive idea or non-transference idea comes from this majotic essence. And what you can get with that, Platon said, was like to empower knowledge. Aristotle was one of the first theorists of human action theory. Can there be coaching without action? No, there cannot be. We all know. So the most important theoretical of the action theory was Aristotle. He's the creator of teleology, the creator of finality, the end, goal. And is part of the, these beginnings of coaching. Philosophy, existential philosophy, Kierkegaard, his doctoral thesis was based in Socrates. Kierkegaard is the father of existentialism philosophy. Kierkegaard was called the Christian Socrates. Kierkegaard just founded a movement that says that what is important is your existence as you live it, because you are a being that is unique and singular. And these are the essence of coaching. You are unique, you are singular, and you should be authentic with yourself. And the best teacher is experience. And how can I learn from experience? Just by error and trial. And how do I do that? So, with all the elements that we offer in a session or a coaching process. Of course, coaching processes are existential processes. Also, maybe this is not so known, Husserl. Husserl was the one who founded phenomenology, a scientific method based in the way in which human being is capable of observing without judgment, without judging, just applying epoche, just leaving all my knowledge aside, just observing reality as it is. Phenomenological method is about being able to get, when I'm with a client, just to let the client to express themselves by himself, for himself, without any interference, not poisoning with my ideas. And we can only get that through epoche from Husserl's phenomenology. There is another important idea, and I really love it, and I will explain you later. Do you know where I found the coaching word in the first place? Associated to a help relationship. It was not in the 80s. It was not in the 90s. It was not in the 70s. It was not in the 60s. Not in the 50s. Not 40s. In 1929, Elton Mayo created what he would call non-auditory interviews. In 1929, his best disciples, Berger and disciples, wrote Management and the Worker. And in that book, they show how they applied these non-auditory interviews. And there is where coaching appears related to these interviews. In 1939, 1935, Mayo writes a book, and in this book, Mayo, he mentions this management and the working, and he shows how these interviews are, and he says how this is related with the word coaching. But the most interesting is that the 1960 paper of Cobbs called Coaching and Counseling Managers, in which he describes how to coach and how to counsel, and he describes the characteristics of these non-auditory interviews of Mayo. Here you have Management and the Worker. Here you have one interview, an interviewer, an employee, which is interviewed. And here you can see in one of the moments the worker says, this person has had enough time so to gain experience, and with the department coaching him, it's very likely that he will have developed himself enough so he can replace another person. Okay, so there was a typical work problem. So what I want you to see here is how this coaching word was related to this non-authority interview related to experience and self-development. Of course, this is very primigenic, but you can see it in this book in 1945, mentioned these interviews, and I want to show you the characteristic that Elton Mayo described of these interviews that were done in these companies. And it was published in 1939. And tell me if this is not related to coaching. Just place all your attention to the interviewed person. Don't talk, listen. Never argue, never give advice. Just listen to what he wants to say, what he doesn't not want to say, and what he cannot say with your help. And as you listen, from time to time, summarize what has been said and present for the moment. And question like, well, is this what you want to tell me? And remember that everything said must be considered a personal confidence and not divulged to anyone. 1945, I discovered the characteristics, description, basic of coaching. And next paragraph of this description, just take a look at what Mayo says. It must not be thought that this type of interviewing is easily learned. You shouldn't think that these interviews are easy to be learned. And he keeps saying, experience and coaching of a senior interviewer must carry them. We are just presencing the emergence of a relationship in which the interviewer needs some capabilities, abilities, skills that allows him to get that not anyone can do that. And that today we are calling that coaching. Well, go on. This another paper that I found in this association. I'm really grateful because, it helped me to my doctoral thesis. It's called, this article, Coaching and Counseling Managers. It's published in 1961, and COPF, Guides to Coaching and Counseling. He mixes them. For him is the same, because you know that Carl Rogers, when he develops counseling on non-directed psychotherapy, what's doing the same as Mayo. Actually, Carl Rogers mentioned Mayo, and he says, okay, what Mayo is saying, I can subscribe it 100% because I'm doing. Counseling and non-directive interviews, they were in the same emergence. And I will tell you why they are emerging in this time. There is an historic explanation that why this is happening here. Why at this time? How to coach and counsel. What does COP do? He citates Elton Mayo and also the management in the worker non-directive interviews. So it's exactly the same. So if you can read what is in pink, so he's describing literally what I just read. So now if you see the bibliography, Carl Rogers, Elton Mayo are sources of this coaching essence. No, we cannot. Oh, so here we are with Carl Rogers. Carl Rogers mentions them and said, well, this is what I'm doing. We are in the same page. Why? Why does in 1960 appears? Okay, and this is Polanyi. It's kind of lost part of this history. Michael Polanyi. Why do I say epistemology? Because he's the one who created the word tacit knowledge. Till 1950, till middle 60s, Polanyi only recognized, creates this idea of tacit knowledge. He's a scientific, he's a chemic and physic, and then he went into philosophy of science, and you will see that he has influenced in many disciplines. In 1960, Polanyi says, okay, you can read it in the right. It took me 3 years to feel assured that my reply to the Meno, the paradox, in the theory lectures was right. In 1966, Polanyi resolves the paradox of Menon. Do you know what is Menon's paradox? The Menon paradox is the paradox when Socrates says, with my disciples, I can talk and they create a knowledge that was not in me. And disciple says, how is this possible? If it's not in the person or it's not in you, where is it? And the Menon paradox is, if you want to know something that you don't know, if you want to know something that you know, you already know it, and then there is no need to explore. If you want to know something that you know, so you cannot make an exploration. If you want to know something that you don't know, so then exploration, it's not possible. So how are you going to know that you get to what you want if you don't know what you know? So this is a paradox that till 1960 was not resolved. So you know that Plato, the answer that gave was like, okay, they are just remembering knowledge from past life, the reminiscence. Michael Polanyi in 1966 says, "It took me 3 years to realize that what I call as tacit knowledge resolves Menon's paradox." And it's true, because he's talking about the characteristic of tacit integration. It's not that they have all the knowledge by themselves. They will have all the knowledge if this will be technical knowledge. What they have, what the client have, is the ability to generate new knowledge. It's different. That's why Polanyi called that personal knowledge. To me, it's fascinating because Carl Rogers was friend of Polanyi. I have an interview in which they are talking. He knew this theory of tacit knowledge, and then you know that Carl Rogers proposed non-directivity as a therapeutic process, and also you know that Carl Rogers, by the end of his days, says, "Well, I'm not doing psychotherapy anymore. I'm just far from that." Obviously, you have to see this from an evolutive point of view, and the rest of history, you know. Tim Galloway with Inner Game of Tennis. He was in the encounter groups of Carl Rogers. Tim Galloway was influenced by existentialism and phenomenology and all the humanist psychology. And what did Tim Galloway? Even in sport, where technical knowledge is a key, it's a fundamental key, Tim Galloway just took all the instruction and technical transference to players, and he succeeded in accelerating the learning. So clearly, the inner game, it's the previous beginning of coaching, because it preserves the essence of coaching. Because young Whitmore just wrote the first book about coaching. And finally, we take all this in the research, and we do not only show it from an evolutive point of view, but we also articulate a general theory that shows this discipline as something singular. Because I haven't found any other help relationship that has this history and these theoretical foundations. What happens with mainstream coaching here, and this is the painful part. You may not agree with me, of course. I'm sharing what my research and my deductions from my 20 years work. The first coaching book, well, maybe this is not nice, but it was me, the one who wrote a book about coaching history 20 years ago. So this is not a 4-year research, this is a 20 years research. What I see that is happening in this research of coaching is Bernard Ehrhardt. Bernard Ehrhardt is the creator of East seminars. He is the founder of personal transformation workshops. Do you know what he did? He took the Carl Rogers encounter groups and mixed them and just make like a kind of cocktail, like a wizard in a cauldron, mixing different things. And the authorized biographer, or Bernard Ehrhardt, says, I'm just reading it in the book because I can't see. What can I say about these called disciplines that he himself was educated and trained during his peculiar spiritual odyssey, in which he mixed Maxwell Marx, Carl Rogers, Zen, Subur, Sensuology, Hypnosis, Gestalt, Encounters? What a combination! Can anyone take this seriously? This person. So just you can see the title, The Transformation of a Man. He even, changed his name. You can see the name in my notes. Sorry, my mouse just... In this page, you can see that I write Jack Rosenberg there on the left. This is the real name. He transformed himself. Is another person. He was the founder of these workshops. What happens in these workshops is so much blurred the essence of Coaching that even they are authoritarian. They are known today what we call coercive coaching. Coercive coaching comes from this person. He just blurred completely the essence and took it into the other extreme. He just called names people, disrespect people. He didn't feed people. He just, set people in really deplorable conditions. So they could be transformed. So Fernando Flores, which is linked to Eckhart, even he wanted to just detach from Eckhart, but even Eckhart financed his doctoral thesis. He took from these workshops, and all history of ontological coaching has as an antecedent this workshop from Bernard Eckhart. Through history, these people that have been just recognizing this part of coaching that blurred the essence have been trying to detach from this past and also trying to take away all these authoritarian aspects that did coaching brought. But I say that they haven't achieved that because we still need to go back to the source. It is not enough to say, I really, I really repent myself from, all these authoritarian things. It's not enough with that. You need to change the philosophy that it's holding this practice. And ontological coaching is got a philosophy with, tradition that I cannot explain here, that it's contrary to the evolutionary line of coaching that we have seen on the upper part of the slide. There is no compatibility into Socrates and Heraclit or Kierkegaard and Nietzsche. They are not compatible. They are opposite. You know what Nietzsche said? All philosophy and all history, philosophy of 2,000 years before me, they are all wrong. And you know what the biggest promoter of ontological coaching says? That all the methodological philosophy from 1,000 years till Nietzsche is completely wrong, is an ontologically wrong. Now, human evolution, it has changed. So this is completely not compatible with coach. It really shakes all the foundations. It's just take a brick, take it out and put another one. It is like a complete brick, different brick. But it's not only the evolution of ontological coaching, is the very Thomas Leonard was the accountant man of Bernard Eckhart. Thomas Leonard, he just got ideas from Bernard Eckhart. So Thomas Leonard is not the father of coaching. There is no father of coaching. Coaching is a discipline that it's been evolving through history since Greeks. It's a way to relate to a company that help relationship cannot attend, and unfortunately Majestic has had its incursion and has been evolving till we have this place now in which we have something spectacular. Really, the profession can really provide great things to people. So Thomas Leonard was not the father of coaching. He was just someone to talk about it. So tell me which philosophies it's bringing Thomas Leonard. So tell me what teleology and what definition is proposing Thomas Leonard to coaching. Thomas Leonard was a creative being. He was an entrepreneur that took ideas and just, showed them in a really great way. And I mean, we have to be very grateful because he was really able to share and to create ICF, but this has a problem because they have shared ideas with foundations that are wrong, that has blurred the essence of coaching, and they have not worried about that, and they're looking to another side, and what they get is that when you share like a really broad idea of things, then what you do is just make it simple. I'm really sorry to say that between us, between coaches, we between us everything looks nice, but in the outside there are really serious professionals that are laughing at us. I don't know if it's painful for you to recognize that, but many scholars and professionals are laughing at us. Meanwhile, we think that we have something great, while we're not realizing that the coaching mainstream has blurred the essence of coaching. And this is another blind spot that we need to solve. And I really understand that if you're coming from ontological coaching, from ICF, of Coachville, or if you even have your own coaching, approximation, I can really understand. You may say, well, what I do is really working. And I'm not going to say that this is not working, of course. I'm not saying that you're not helping when you do what you do. Here, discussion is about if what you are doing can be called coaching or not. Yes, why, in which sense, to what point? Is there any foundation in what you're doing from the coaching point of view? Where, from one point of view, is it compatible? Help relationship with, where the basis is non-transference, with the idea that I can, that human being needs to be interpreted in a different way, and all the past metaphysics is wrong. Well, maybe it's not compatible. Just leave it there. They are blind spot. So how is this, all these blind spots affected at the professional level? Here we get to the competency approach, that we said that associations and mainstream coaching is up there, but they don't know what is behind. I analyze the competencies as well. Here you have them. I have grouped them in 3 great categories. All ICF competencies and all the other associations are placed in a way in which in different ways they say the same. It's true that ICF are 11 or now 8, but we can change the table because they are exactly the same, but 1. When I was developing the thesis in that very moment, they were reviewing the change. I mentioned the 8 competence, but in this table it was built with the 11. At this point, there were not the markers of the 8, so there was no point to publish the new list. So you have 3 great categories. So one category is relational. another one which is processal, which means the process, and another which is conversational. This is what I have analyzed. Now, when I analyze all these competencies, I want to explain you something that is very important so you understand this table. So here you can see these competencies. ICF gets till this point, ISE, IIC is from this point, and so on. Here you have two columns here. This one is oriented to continent, and this one to continent and content. So I want to think of a basel. This is the continent. Sorry. Continent in the general theory of coaching is about the rector principles, about the process structure, is about the conversational structure, is about agreement, is about ethics, is about all these topics. The content is everything the client brings and puts into the continent. Content is the being, the existent being of the client, that is singular, that is expressed in his own terms. So, from the essence point of view that we were talking, a coach should not contaminate the content, because when he does so, or she does so, you are inhibiting creativity, and you are stop doing the finality, the end, by coaching exists. So I say that because in the analysis I made about competencies, what I do is to classify the competencies in function of they are oriented or not into the continent or the content. And what I see from the ICF 11 competencies, 9 have elements related to the content. There are elements of transference and directivity. In the IAC, in the 9 competencies, all have some transference and directive ideas. In the AC, there are 5. From 9, 5 have this directivity component. In the Worldwide Association, there are even more. So there are 13 competencies. On everything you have on the right, there are competencies that have elements that are against the essence of coaching. You can say, well, in which sense? In this one, that I'm going to share with you another table. Here there are just really basic examples. Coaching process, direct communication, the use of coaching, of coach intuition, the use of the own knowledge, coach own knowledge, use of metaphors, feedback sharing. I don't know if you're aware, but when you analyze from the essential point of view the methodology of coaching and the impact it has on the client, I can assure that only sharing a metaphor, just with sharing a metaphor, in 3 minutes of 1 hour, can direct all the session and can just stop all creative capacity that this client could have had or had in this session. Metaphors, analogies, own ideas, expressions based on coach own interpretation. I'm just using literal words from ICF, they are not mine. I'm the one who decides if this may have meaning or not for the client or even the challenge. In the International Association for Coaching, empathizing, so limiting beliefs interpretation, so that's about the content. Challenging the client is about just content. Listening, beyond what the client says is about the content. Interpreting discrepancies in between what the coaching does, says, and that is also in the content. Sharing different point of view, just coaching possibilities, this all directive and transparent. In the Association of Coaching of England offers feedback, what the client says or not, sharing relevant information, So the Worldwide Association is the one that is more differences. They share values, attitudes, whatever they need to hear. They interpret non-verbal language. They also pay attention to what the client doesn't say. They present alternatives from what the client says. They add. They also contribute with knowledge, experience, and know-how of the coach. They offer different perspectives. They recommend books, trainings, people. All these are elements, directive elements that they break coaching essence. They stop client capacity of generating knowledge. This graphic that I'm showing you is showing you the competential focus essential from the mainstream coaching on the left and all the helping relationships. So do you think that the competencies as they are shown in the competencies are different from what psychotherapists do? Are different? No, they're actually the same. And I'm going to show you on the right the focus from the theoretical generally of coaching describing meta competencies that try to be coherent with the essence and how this should be done. In front instead of active listening, we just propose attend phenomenological attention. Active listening, in active listening there is interpretation. We add meaning, and it's subjective. That means that we are somehow coloring the client content. From the general theory of coaching, we need to attend from a phenomenological point of view, using epoche, stopping your judgment, just stopping all the meanings. So it's all about client subjectivity, interpretations. Their subjective relationships are really what matters, and this phenomenological listen is objective. Instead of being present empathically, so which means sense, using the inner knowing, open to risk, use humor and changing perspective, they are all directive elements. We prefer that we need to be a really faithful mirror. So we need to reflect, to synthesize, to recap, to make faithful records and reports about what the client says, feels, experiments. Instead of subjective communication, that it's giving feedback, reframing, explaining dynamics, using metaphors and analogies, giving videos, suggestions and options, we think that just communicate objectively, which means about relational procedural structure, conversational structure, not about the content. And I just at last, questions. For me, question is the last thing that the coach does, not the first thing, because in order to ask, you should be able to have listened, and then after listen, you have mirror back, because really powerful question in coaching mainstream, as I say, in the left, is full from the coach ideas necessarily, with an interpretive listening, with intuitive being presence in which I use humor, I use my inner knowledge, I give feedback, I use metaphor, I use dynamics. So it's normal that the question is full of you, not the client. But on the general theory of coaching, we say question must be focused. It should be clean from the coach. I really just listen without judgment. I mirror back, and while I'm mirroring, you show me what I should ask, and questions are just focused on the dynamic you are having and manifesting in the session. And there is where we attend the essence of coaching, where is the process which is inside out, from the inside to the out. Meanwhile, mainstream coaching, it's a process from the outside to the inward. Here you have in the research that Gorka did, he just had some research with directive and non-directive sessions, and here you see the different results, and this is the results that you have seen also before. So, and I'm just getting to the end. From the competency point of view, we are now in the position to talk about tools and orientations, and also results. And it's important also, not every tool can be used by a coach. Not any tool, a test, an assessment is interpreting the content of the client. We shouldn't use an assessment that is telling the client how he is, how he feels, how he relates, because what we do is just contaminating his or her own view. There are many tools that we are using that we take from other disciplines that they are not helping coaching. And actually, we have seen that the less prepared coaches are the ones who just look for tools, because these are somehow the cane that helps us to perform better when we don't have knowledge. When a coach transfers, he is just getting into inner dynamic of the client. He is intervening in the content. So the result we get is the combination in between what the client brought and what the coach unconsciously sometimes added with his directive questions, with his transference.
¿Qué es lo que ocurre? Que ese
What
resultado
happens?
subordinado,
That
te guste o
the
no te
result,
guste,
even if you
genera
like it or
dependencia en
not,
el cliente.
it generates dependence on
Y
the
da lo mismo
client.
que tú le digas al
And
cliente.
it's the same if
No,
you
es
say
que
the
esto lo has
client,
conseguido tú.
no, you've got this,
Porque él sabe
because he
en el fondo
knows
que no fue
that in the
él el
end
que lo consiguió.
that he was not the one who got it.
Fue ese tip, fue
It was
esa
this
sugerencia,
tip, this suggestion,
fue ese
it was
feedback,
this feedback,
fue esa dinámica,
that was that dynamic,
fue ese lo que
it
sea.
was whatever it was.
Esto no es propio
This
de
is
una
not
relación saludable de coaching.
Not
¿Qué es lo que
something
ocurre
that
cuando
is
tú no transfieres?
good for a
Y
healthy
generas una
coaching
relación libre
relationship.
de interferencia.
What happens when there is no transference?
Cuando tú generas una relación libre de interferencia,
When
ven que
you
la flecha
generate
roja
a
toca
free transference, you can
el
see
continente.
that the
Trabaja el
red
continente.
line is about the
Deja
continent.
adentro
Just
las cosas
live
como
inside
son.
the content
Que
as
tiene
they
una
are.
emoción que no me gusta, no
If
importa.
there is an
Que
emotion that I
dice
don't like,
cosas,
it doesn't
que
matter.
está hablando
If
de
he says
filosofía
things
metafísica que a ti no te gusta,
about
no
metaphysical
importa. Que
philosophy that you
está,
don't
que
like,
tú
it
crees
doesn't
que
matter.
él necesita levantar los ojos para salir de un estado emocional que le tiene bloqueado, no importa.
It doesn't matter.
Porque lo que estás haciendo
What we are
ahí
doing here
es dirigirle.
is just
Te estás colocando en una
directing
posición
him,
de
just
superioridad
putting yourself in a
por sobre el
superiority
cliente.
position.
Deja que esa
Just
dinámica
let that
interna, natural
inner
y
dynamic
espontánea
and natural of the
emerja
client
sola
emerge
y
by
conseguirás
themselves,
el
and
engendramiento.
you
Y
will
el
get
cliente
the
sentirá,
generation of knowledge, and the client will feel
que efectivamente ese resultado
they
fue
have this
autogestionado.
result that
Esta
has been
relación no genera
self-generated.
dependencia.
This relationship does not generate dependence.
Por lo tanto,
So,
la teoría general del coaching,
the general
a la
theory of
izquierda,
coaching on the
esta
left,
pirámide yo la he
this
titulado la
pyramid,
pirámide de coherencia
I
científico-profesional del
have
coaching.
called it the
Porque entiendo
scientific
que el
coherence
coaching en
pyramid,
esencia
because I
debería
understand
centrarse
that
en el componente tácito del conocimiento para su
coaching
caracterización de manera
should
no
be
directiva,
based on this
dirigiendo sus competencias a
tacit,
esa catalización, atendiendo al continente, creando herramientas nuevas que no tengan que ver con el contenido y buscando resultados autogestionados. Mientras que en el mainstream del coaching todavía siguen anclados, insisto,
we
en el
still
paradigma de
are
la
fixed in the
transferencia.
transference paradigm.
Hay un exceso,
There is
pero
an
exceso,
excess.
y además cada vez lo que a mí me preocupa es que cada vez
What
veo que
I'm
crece
worried
más
is that is growing
excesivamente el
excessively
abordaje basado en la transferencia.
just this
Esto
work
no
with
forma parte de la
transference.
esencia del coaching.
This is not part
Esto
of
que estoy
coaching
trayendo aquí
essence. What
es
I'm bringing
en
here
esencia parte de mi
is in
investigación.
the essence part of my research.
Esta pirámide
This pyramid
no es lo único en la tesis,
is not the only
en
thing
la
in the
articulación propia de la teoría general del
thesis.
coaching. Yo articulo tres fundamentos
I articulate
científicos para
three
todo.
different foundations.
Le llamo el primero
I call the first
ante-actio,
one
en latín.
ante-actio in Latin.
Ante-actio.
Ante-actio
Es antes de la acción.
is before action.
Este es el fundamento científico más
This is
puro,
the
es la
scientific
ciencia más pura
foundation
que
and
puede
is the
existir
purest
en el mundo
that
científico.
can exist in the
¿Sí?
scientific
Y
world.
aquí
Here,
describo
I describe
axiomas,
axioms,
categorías,
categories,
teoremas del coaching y
and
sus
coaching
principios.
theorem and their principles.
Estoy seguro que ustedes estarán de acuerdo conmigo. Estoy
And I'm
segurísimo.
sure that you will
Pero es que
agree
ya
with
son
me.
axiomas. El axioma de la
They
conciencia humana,
are
el
axioms.
axioma de la
The axiom
existencia,
of
el
human
axioma de la
consciousness, axiom of
acción humana
existence,
intencional,
of intentional
las
human action,
categorías, los
categories,
teoremas relacionados con el
theorems
propósito, el motivo, las
about
circunstancias,
purpose,
las
motives,
expectativas, el
circumstances,
entrenamiento, la elección y
expectations,
la renuncia,
choice and
el
renunciation,
seguimiento,
follow-up.
todo articulado de manera
Everything
científica,
is articulated in a
axiomático, lógico,
scientific
deductivo.
way from the axiomatic, logic,
Axiomático,
deductive
lógico, deductivo.
perspective.
Son verdades
They are
que no se
truths
pueden
that
contraargumentar sin
cannot be
contradicción.
contra-argumented
Se
without
asumen como
contradicting.
ciertas, como
They are
verdaderas,
assumed
y
as
forman el
true,
sustento
and they
de
are
toda
the
la propuesta.
foundation
Luego
for the other
propongo
parts.
un segundo nivel
Then
de referencia
there is a
científica
second level
de
of
una cualidad
scientific
científica
reference
inferior, que
of
es
a
el
lower
post-actio, es decir, después de
scientific
la
quality,
acción.
which is the
Aquí entra todo lo que
post-action.
tiene que ver con lo empírico
And
experimental.
here, everything that is related
Tiene que
to
ver
experimental
con
and empiric.
la metodología operativa. Tiene que
The
ver con el
operational
contenido. Lo otro tenía que ver con el
methodology.
contenido.
This is about
Aquí
the
describimos
content.
la naturaleza, la estructura y la
Here
dinámica
we
del
describe
coeficiente personal del
nature,
conocimiento.
structure, dynamics,
Aquí hablamos de
epistemological,
los fundamentos
theological,
epistemológicos,
operational,
metodológicos
methodological,
y el fundamento
and paradigmatic.
cosas que hemos mencionado en esta conferencia.
We have mentioned already
Y
that in the
finalmente,
conference. And finally,
propongo un tercer nivel de
there is a
fundamentación científica,
third level of
ya
scientific
in actio,
theory,
es
which
en
is
la acción,
in action, which means in
donde
action,
vemos ya la
where
aplicación más práctica
we
y
see the
profesional.
practical
Aquí,
application.
evidentemente, ofrecemos la definición de coaching,
So there is
la
here
pirámide
the
de
definition
coherencia
of coaching,
científico-profesional
this
para
pyramid of
guiar al
scientific
coach,
coherence,
formador o a la profesión sobre qué elementos pueden entrar o no entrar en la disciplina de coaching para poder realmente discriminar qué puede formar parte del coaching y qué no. Hablo de los límites
So
del
I
coaching
talk also about
lógico,
coaching limits,
axiológico, es decir, con valores
logic,
legales.
axiological.
Hablo del enfoque competencial, de
I
los cuales
talk
ya hemos
about the
hablado, con sus
competencies,
estructuras y sus metacompetencias.
structures,
Hablo de la orientación
metacompetencies,
de las herramientas,
orientation
de
of
la dinámica del
tools,
engendramiento y de
also
los resultados
knowledge
autogestionados.
generation,
Muchas de
dynamics,
estas cosas
and
las
also
hemos ido
self-managed
mencionando
outcome.
en esta conferencia. Y termino ya con esto.
And I just finished with
En
this.
definitiva, existe
There are
un punto ciego
a blind
histórico,
spot,
desde mi punto de
historical
vista en el coaching,
blind spot in
en el que
coaching,
se ha producido una
in which
desviación,
there has been a
una
deviation
desvirtuación de la esencia del
from the
coaching
coaching
y
essence,
que es el que
and
más
that is the
está difundiendo y
the
el que
most
más
that is
bombo y
been
platillo
has
se le
been
está
told,
dando y el que más
and the one
marketing
we are
tiene,
sharing more.
y el que menos representa la esencia.
and the one that really represents in a less way the essence.
Tenemos otro punto ciego,
There is another
y es
blind spot
que dentro de lo que fue la evolución espontánea de la
that
esencia del coaching,
in the
es
spontaneous
posible
evolution
poder tener
of
en cuenta
coaching,
los elementos que definen a la profesión.
it's possible to
Epistemológico,
have
teológico y
in
metodológico.
account the different
Pero hay un
elements,
punto ciego
epistemological,
aquí,
theological,
porque el mainstream del
operational,
coaching
but
desconocen
there is a
estos
blind
elementos,
spot because the
no
mainstream
los
coaching
atienden,
does not know these
o los
elements
ignoran,
or just ignore
o
them,
no les importa,
or they don't care.
y por lo tanto siguen anclados en el
And
paradigma de la
hence, they
transferencia.
are just in
Sus
the
propuestas teóricas
transference
no
paradigm.
son propias del coaching.
Their theoretical
No sé
proposals
si,
are not
si he
from
sido
a
capaz
coaching
de
perspective.
darme a entender con esto.
I don't know if I'm being
Tú
really
puedes
successful
acudir de manera
in helping you to understand
multidisciplinar
that, but you
a
can
diferentes áreas del conocimiento.
get into
Pero
different
la teoría general del
areas
coaching
of
viene a
knowledge.
decir, existe una teoría
But
que puede
the
dar cuenta de
theory
esta
general of
relación de ayuda o de este
coaching
acompañamiento.
says that okay, there is
Y
a
es
theory that
coaching
can make this difference.
Lo que nosotros estamos fundamentando,
And
no
this is
otra cosa.
coaching what we are founding, not
Y
another.
tenemos un punto
thing.
ciego
And there is
teórico
another
ahí.
theoretical blind
Seguimos
spot,
anclados en el paradigma de la transferencia.
and is that we are
Esto
still in this
con
paradigm
el
of
fundamento científico de
transference.
primera y segunda referencia,
And this
con
with
toda
the
esa profundización,
scientific
evidentemente
foundation
aquí no
of
me da
first
tiempo
and
para
second
profundizar.
reference that I don't have now
Podríamos
time
dar
to
cuenta de,
go
de
deeper.
estos tres elementos
We
que fue lo
could
primero que
talk
mencioné
about these three elements.
al principio, ¿no? de la conferencia. Y finalmente
And finally,
tenemos el punto ciego
we have the
del
blind spot
acercamiento
of
de las
the
competencias tal y como
approach
las hemos descrito,
of the
cómo las
competencies
hemos
as
articulado,
we have said and
cómo
we
las
have
estamos
articulated,
enseñando,
the ones we are teaching,
cuál es el fundamento,
which is the foundation,
cuál es el fundamento que
which is the
sostiene el
foundation
enfoque
that
competencial de
holds
las
the
asociaciones internacionales.
competential approach of different associations.
Esa sería la pregunta.
This is
¿Cuál es
the
el fundamento que
question,
sostiene el
which
enfoque
is the
competencial?
foundation that
Si nosotros
holds
no nos
the
atrevemos a bajar y
competencies of
profundizar
the different
hasta el
associations.
fondo,
If we
tarde o
don't
temprano,
dare to
esto
go
nos saltará.
deeper,
Es decir, será
no,
un
sooner
problema
or
no
later,
resuelto.
this
Podemos
will be
esconder
a
debajo
real
de la alfombra,
problem.
pero no es conveniente para la
We
disciplina.
can just, put
Y
it
hay
on the rack, but
este
this is going to
problema
be a problem.
o este punto ciego en relación al enfoque competencial, porque
And we have this
como el enfoque
problem
competencial no tiene
Because the
sustento,
competential focus
tampoco
has
puedo yo
no
discriminar qué herramientas
foundations.
puedo utilizar o no.
I
Dependerá del
cannot
maestro,
make a difference of
dependerá
which tools
de la
I can use
escuela o
or not.
dependerá del coach y de su
It
manera
will
de hacerlo,
depend on each one,
pero
the
no de un
coach,
criterio
but not from
objetivo
a
para la
really
disciplina. Y
a
esto
clear
ustedes lo
basis.
pueden ver en el fundamento
And
científico.
you can
de
see
tercera
that on
referencia.
the
En
scientific
definitiva,
foundations.
esto no es más, si ustedes quieren, que una propuesta,
This is just a proposal,
la propuesta de
the
una teoría
proposal
general del
of
coaching
a
con
general
fundamento,
theory
con
of
tres
coaching with
referencias de
three
fundamentación científica
scientific
que
references,
sostienen
foundations,
y dan cuenta
that
de la
hold
esencia del
the
coaching,
essence
como ha
of
ido
coaching,
evolucionando de manera histórica,
and it has
cómo
evolved
se sostiene de
historically
manera teórica
and
para darle
theoretically
cuerpo
to
y
just
resolver, es una
embody
propuesta, para
and
resolver
resolve
estos puntos
all
ciegos
these blind spots
que yo he visto
that I have
y que he
seen
intentado
and I have tried
aportar.
to just solve.
Si algo de todo lo que he dicho te es útil,
If anything
úsalo.
of what I said is useful, use
Si
it.
lo que te he dicho no te es
If
útil,
what
no
I
lo
said
uses.
is not useful, so then
Si
use
lo que
it.
te he dicho
If what I
te
said
hizo cortocircuito
just
o
somehow
estás un poco
confused you,
contrariado con lo que he dicho, si quieres analízalo
you
y
can
lo
just
conversamos.
reflect on that and we
Lo
can talk
importante para
about
mí,
it. But the most important for
Y
me,
en este punto,
And at that point,
insisto en la
uh,
valentía de ACTO,
and I insist in
invitarme
the
a mí
boldness
para
of
cerrar esta
ACTO
conferencia,
to invite
en
me
la
to this
que
conference
expongo
in which I will be I'm explaining
propuesta
a
en
proposal
la que te estoy diciendo
in
cuál
which
es la esencia del coaching
I'm
desde el
telling
punto de
you
vista evolutivo e
which
histórico,
is the
para
essence
que
of
veas cómo
coaching
estamos
from
hoy
an
en una
evolutive
situación que
and
no
historical essence of
responde a esa
coaching,
esencia,
to see that
y
we are
que
in a
si queremos
situation
realmente
today that does
evolucionar,
not answer
tenemos
to
que
this
hacer estos
essence,
cambios
and that we
nosotros
should
en la
be
profesión para
making some
poder
changes in the
darle
profession,
realmente
in the
futuro.
profession. So
Si algo de
if
todo
we
esto
can
te
want to
hace
talk about
sentido,
future,
tómalo. Si
si
no te hace sentido,
anything of this makes sense,
lo
take it.
que sí te invito es a que lo contraargumentes.
I'm really encouraging
Te
you
estoy invitando a la
somehow
comunidad a adentrarse en el mundo, si tú
just
quieres, académico,
build a
en el mundo
counter-argumentation.
filosófico, en el
So I'm
mundo
inviting
ontológico, en el
the
mundo
scholars
epistemológico, en el mundo científico
in the scientific
para poder
world in order
dilucidar
to
y dar respuesta
just
a esto
try to go
que a mí
deeper and
me
find
resulta
some answers to this that
de lo
to me
más
it's
importante y
one of
relevante
the most
para el
important and
mundo del
relevant
coaching
things for
a
coaching
día de hoy.
world
Muy
nowadays.
bien, no les entretengo más. Muchas
I'm not
gracias.
going to keep
Y
you
hasta aquí
any more
mi
time. Thank you so
participación.
much. Until this point, my speech.